Ulanzi. These are the VL49 lights. They are one of the most popular RGB/small lights on Amazon. They receive so many searches, so I want to see what all the hubbub is about. They're cheap, but are they worth the money? I'm going to use them in the real world and see if it's worth it for you to pick them up.
I ordered both kinds. There's the RGB one, which allows you to dial in all the different colors, and then there's just the simple limited white one that's 5500 Kelvin, and they've got like a plus or minus range of 200, so that's roughly daylight. I can't remember off the top of my head, so here's the prices for both of them. Let's dive in and see what they look like. Hopefully they have some sort of charge out of the box. Power switch here on the back, and yeah, there's battery out of the box, which is cool. Yesterday, I made a thumbnail for the video that I posted before this one, and honestly, looking back on it today, it's a terrible thumbnail, so I'm gonna wanna redo it. What better way to test these out for product photography and videography than actually putting them to work? I'm gonna see if I can light an entire thumbnail with just these two lights. So I'm gonna have my camera bag in the middle, and then some of this stuff, you'll see. Got our fill. Oof, that's not so bright. Intensity up. That's 100%. They definitely feel a little bit harsh for what I'm doing here. Abandoned ship. The issue that I'm running into here is that these lights have such a small source size that it comes off very, very harsh. Especially this one, the main white one, it's like, even if I hold it way out, way back here, it's still not giving me a soft spread. Like, look at that hot spot. That's crazy. What this is gonna be actually very good for, though, is product videography. Let me show you. A lot of the time when I'm shooting a product for a review or something like that, I like to take a light source and move it around. That movement can be a little bit difficult if I'm using like this massive tube light or anything like that, so having a small, cheap pocket-sized light to do that with is great. Here's what I mean, a little flash, a little flare, sweeping over. Really easy to control with a small light like this. I guess with this light, just be aware that it's not super soft, but you are gonna get that full RGB range, and it is really, I mean, it's pretty bright, which should make it good for some practicals. Like if you wanna add a pop of color to a scene, you could use a little light like this. Normally I have a big one back here, but let me turn this one on. Let's see if it totally, whoo, that blows that out of the water. I mean, that's not a fair comparison. I got something workable there with this little blue guy. That works fine. It's okay. There's one other use case, though, that they actually market this thing for. You can use the light as like a vlogging light, something taped to your camera or clamped to your camera. I mean, it works. It's kind of terrifying. This is like Blair Witch Project. Not at all gonna give you a visually pleasing effect, but maybe if you're trying to do something kind of scary or just have a really practical light to be like, yo, look at that outlet. Obviously having a spotlight on you in the pitch dark is just kind of naturally scary anyway. But honestly, it serves this purpose really, really well because it is so lightweight. And it comes with a little cold shoe adapter, so it's just super quick and easy to snap onto your camera rig, flick the light on, and you are ready to go. So all things considered, I give it an A+ for that purpose, and most of that comes down to its build quality. Don't get me wrong, the build quality is nothing crazy. I mean, they're made out of plastic. But in some cases, because the plastic is so lightweight, it is beneficial. And for the price of them, I wouldn't expect anything insane. Actually, they pack a good amount of features, especially the RGB one. As far as the body goes, there's multiple mounting points along the side, so you can attach other accessories or more lights to it. The cold shoe adapter is plastic, but it is pretty solid, and it's got a metal threaded bottom in case you want to thread it onto something. And there's a built-in magnet on the back, which isn't anything super crazy. It's not incredibly strong, but it's enough to hold it up. Both the RGB version and the white version are charged by USB-C, and their controls are very similar, with just a switch on the back to toggle it on and off, and two simple arrows to change all of your settings. For the white-only version, this means an adjustment in the brightness of the light, and for the RGB version, it's both a brightness and a hue rocker, so that you can go through the full 360 degrees of RGB. But that's not where the RGB version stops. It actually has special effects like you find in many of the high-quality light brands like Aperture and Nanlite, and you can adjust it along the Kelvin scale, which I'm gonna be honest, it's not wildly accurate. It's a cheap light, but it gets the job done. Overall, the controls are super intuitive. There's no instructions or anything in the case, and honestly, it's not really needed. I figured it out in like 30 seconds. I also noticed that set to the same Kelvin rating, the RGB light has more of a magenta hue to it, where the white-only light has a bit of a green hue to it. Although the brightness of both lights at 100% at the same Kelvin rating is actually remarkably similar, to the point where I don't think
think that there's really a reason at all to buy the white only version. Now let's talk about value. This little light does what it does, and it does it well. I don't think it's anything that's like gonna be earth-shattering. What I think is, if you want an RGB light to add some color, add some pop to your pictures or your videos for less than $30, this is actually a really, really good route to go. It's so small, it's so light, and it's so affordable that I don't really think there's much of an excuse to not always have one in your camera bag, just in case you need to pull out a little bit of color, punch it in somebody's face. So is it anything crazy? No. But it does its job, and a lot of the time, that's what we need.